Check, check. Chinese checkers. You all hear me? All right, cool. So we're going to be talking about smartwatches today. Who all has a smartwatch here? Let's raise your hand. Okay, so most of you. And then imagine if you don't have one, you're interested in getting one. That's why you're here. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to start by saying this is my first time doing this, so I'm a little nervous, so bear with me. And being nervous, I already got ahead of myself. I had a slide for if you had a smartwatch. So we're going to go through a little quiz to start here, a little quiz in history. So, when was the first smartwatch made? Or first wristwatch? We're going way back. First wristwatch ever. Well, according to Google, it's 1571, so you're all way off. It was a gift to Queen Elizabeth in 1571. And Stacy, could you dim the lights a little bit so maybe we could see this a little better? That look better? Cool. All right. So, when was the first digital watch invented? First digital. 1970. Yep, it was by Pulsar. Yep, latest and greatest. And then when we got into the 80s, we got a little bit more towards smarter watches. We had the Casio calculator watch, and this is actually still available. You can buy this on Amazon still and through Casio website, which is kind of cool, a little retro thing. So when was the first real smartwatch made? Okay. Yeah. Any other guesses? Well, it kind of depends on your definition of smartwatch. I went with 2004. This was the Microsoft Spot, and this was the first one to receive kind of digital messages, and it was actually through FM radio, and you were able to get some email and weather and different kinds of notifications. So that's what I kind of defined as a smartwatch here. So 2004, and this was after the original Spider-Man in 2002, which I thought was crazy. So what is a smartwatch? Now that I gave you a little definition, but what would you say a smartwatch is? Smarter than you are? A lot of health information, yep, that's for sure. Yeah. Yep, so a lot of different ideas. There's no real clear answer on what makes something smart, but we all just kind of know what it is. So what are some of the features of smartwatches for those of you who have them?
You can get
Phone calls, yep. Text messages, email. And these are on the fancy smartwatches that all three of you ladies have on the Apple Watch. Count steps, yep, that's a big basic one, good one. What else? Heart information, yeah.
Sleep profile.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk about some of those. So step tracking, and I have a couple cool stats here I'm going to share with you. So there was a study done in the University of Australia, and they found that those who bought, purchased, and used a smartwatch stepped an average of 40 minutes more or 1,800 more steps a day than those who did not. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but that definitely adds up over time for sure. So that's a real big number. And then, one of the big things about smartwatches is they promote behavior change and getting more steps and more activity. So that's a real big thing. And then William Thompson, he said if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So being aware of your steps and knowing that number and having a goal can help you track it, and you can measure it and improve it. And then I think I have another stat here for you. So people who wear smartwatches exercise an average of 4.3 days per week compared to 3 days per week for non-wearers. So it's people who have them and are more aware of their stats are getting more activity. And then 50% of smartwatch owners started working out more after purchasing the device. And then we'll get into our next feature here, which is heart rate tracking. So does anyone know how this heart rate tracking works on your smartwatch? Magic? Yeah, okay, magic. How about what's the benefit of tracking your heart rate? Any ideas?
Make sure it's not too high or too low.
Not too high or too low. Yep, for sure. Yep. Yep, some of them can track AFib. Yeah, that's for sure.
Makes you aware. I don't have one.
Yeah, it makes you aware. And it's good for exercise too. If you have a heart rate goal, a target heart rate goal, they're really good for exercise, and they're more accurate than the ones you'd find on like your treadmill and your elliptical bike. So we're going to watch a little video here on how this technology works. Stacy, can you cut the lights? I'm hoping this isn't going to be too loud. Let's see.
So the green light in the back of Lee's watch is based on a technology called photoplethysmography, or PPG. PPG is a non-invasive way to measure health data and to give us biometrical information. It works by an optical sensor in your watch that shoots a light onto the surface of your skin. So when this light reaches your blood vessel, some of the light is reflected back to a photodetector on the watch. The intensity of light captures a waveform of the amount of blood in your blood vessel. So depending on the color of light used, you can analyze and capture different biometrics and waveforms. Since the depth of penetration of light is dependent on wavelength, red light with a longer wavelength has increased depth of penetration than the shorter green light. Green light PPG technology is what the Apple Watch and Fitbit use to measure heart rate. But some trackers like BioStrap use red light PPG for more in-depth measurements.
You turn those lights back on dim for a second here, Stacy. So pretty cool, right? So if you see on the back of my watch, you can see that green light glowing. And that's how that works. And I did not know that before preparing for this presentation, so I thought that was a pretty cool video that I thought I'd share with you. And then ECG, who knows what that stands for? Yep, that's for sure. And some watches are capable of doing this. And then we're going to watch another little video on ECG and how that works with a smartwatch.
I'm at the UCSF Medical Center hooked up to a 12-lead EKG. Now I'm going to compare the results of this test versus the 1-lead EKG on the Apple Watch. If I look at my apps now, I'll notice that there's now an EKG app. It's these squiggly lines over here, and it's pretty simple to use. I just put my finger on the digital crown and it starts taking the EKG, counts down for about 30 seconds, and it actually shows it live as it's happening.
So we see that you have these two narrow beats, and intermittently you have this wider early beat. That one right there, that one right there. So normal, normal, early, normal, normal, early. And that matches what we see on the EKG, where you have normal, normal, early, and wide. So this would be really useful to screen for this, or to have the first understanding that you have these early beats. It wouldn't tell us precisely where in the heart, apart from the fact that it's coming from the lower chamber, whereas this 12-lead EKG that gives us essentially a fuller picture can tell us precisely where in the lower chamber it's coming from.
And am I going to die? Is something wrong with me?
You are not going to die. These early beats are very common. In some people, they can lead to problems in the long term.
But let's take a look at how this actually works on the Apple Watch. An update to watchOS gave users access to 2 FDA-cleared features on the Apple Watch: an irregular heart rhythm notification and an EKG app exclusive to the Series 4, both of which could warn users of potentially life-threatening heart conditions. Heart rate is not new to the Apple Watch, or wearables in general.
So the optical sensor on fitness trackers or smartwatches essentially uses changes in light that is reflected based on the pulse.
When the heart beats and more blood is pumped into the vessels, more light gets absorbed. Between beats, when there's less blood, more light gets reflected back into the receivers. The Apple Watch also uses this optical sensor to measure heart rhythm and alerts users when the pattern suggests atrial fibrillation, a heart condition which can increase your risk of stroke and other serious heart complications.
So the heart rate is the frequency of the heartbeat over time, but doesn't tell you anything about the pattern of those beats. The rhythm has more to do with the relative spacing of those beats.
But to get a definitive diagnosis, the doctor needs more information.
We would want to have an electrical confirmation of a diagnosis of atrial fibrillation before we decide on acting on that, and not base it in general on the pulse recording alone.
That's where the EKG comes in. The EKG, or electrocardiogram, uses electrodes to measure the electrical activity that results from each expansion and contraction of the heart. The Apple Watch has 1 electrode on the back crystal and 1 electrode on the digital crown. Place your finger on the digital crown to close the circuit and stay still for 30 seconds to get a read.
So that's creating the same sort of connection between your left arm and your right arm.
But the results from the single lead EKG on the Apple Watch, which users can share as a PDF with their doctors, gave Dr. Marcus enough information to detect my early heartbeat and could help doctors reach a diagnosis sooner.
And so there's this hope that we might detect those people who otherwise didn't know they had atrial fibrillation and then treat them appropriately. The flip side is that we recognize there's a risk of false positive results.
The Apple Watch is the only direct-to-consumer device with a built-in EKG. But there are other devices like the Cardioband that let you take an EKG outside the doctor's office. Apple Watch competitors like Garmin and Fitbit are also working to improve their heart rate monitoring as more tech companies focus on healthcare as a way to breathe new life into wearables. I probably don't have AFib, but I would have never known about my early heartbeat without an EKG. And now I might just have to pay another visit to Dr. Marcus to get it checked out.
All right. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, makes me excited for the future of wearable technology and where it could really go. And this was on the Series 4 Apple Watch. We're now on Series 8, so they've gotten even a little bit better than what they shared with in the video here. And then, so next, someone's talked about sleep tracking and being able to see your sleep. So this works similar to the heart rate tracking that we just saw in those 2 videos. So it pairs the heart rate tracking with an accelerometer to tell that you're asleep. And then based on your heart rate, it could tell what part of the sleep cycle that you're actually in. So if you see, this is from the Fitbit app. So if you have a Fitbit, this is what you could see from sleep. And you see it shows up when you're awake, your REM cycle, light and deep sleep. And then it could tell you exactly like how long you're in each of those. So it gives you a pretty good picture of your sleep and sleep quality. I've used Fitbit for a while. I now have a Garmin, but using the Fitbit, I noticed on days that I consumed alcohol, my sleep definitely suffered. It did not look as good as it usually did when I did not consume alcohol. And that was not a lot of alcohol either. And then this is another breakdown. You could see like your sleep throughout the week, and they even give you a sleep score for the Fitbit. So another thing we talked about is taking calls, receiving calls and texts on your smartwatch. These are a little bit more advanced. Some of the simpler, lower-end smartwatches won't be able to do this. A lot of them now will be able to receive texts, but they won't be able to send texts out. The simpler ones. The high-end stuff is going to be able to receive calls, texts, send texts out. You could do voice text too. So it really depends on the level of smartwatch you get here. And then some other things the smartwatch can do is workout tracking. You can track your blood oxygen, and then GPS tracking, which is good for if you're walking, doing exercise outside. It gives you a better way to track. So, how do you pick one? And for those of you who have one, maybe tell me why you got that. Anybody? Lou? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And what watch do you have? Apple Watch. Okay, cool. So she said her grandkids had one, and she was, yeah, her grandkids had them, and she was amazed at all they can do. So she wanted one of those for herself. Andy?
I'm at the other end of the continuum. I bought an expensive one and decided it had too many bells and whistles, a lot more than what I wanted. So I took it back and went somewhere else and got a less expensive device because all I was interested in was number of steps, heartbeats, the fact that I could set a timer on it, remind me to get up and walk around and not sit all day long. That's why I went with the lower end model.
Did everyone catch that? Yeah.
Emergency response to falls.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. I have some videos for that too. She said emergency response to falls. Yep. Dot?
Do the cheaper ones die earlier?
No, funny enough, the cheaper ones battery, are you talking about battery life or like longevity of the device?
I don't know, I don't have one, I just wondered.
Like how long they would last? That kind of depends. I think you're probably right. I've had a lower end Fitbit, and it does not seem to last quite as long as the Apple Watches. Some of the people I know who have Apple Watches do.
When I went to the Apple store, the salesperson told me, oh, people get a new one every couple of years. I did not laugh.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah. She said she went to the Apple store, and the salesman there said that most people get a new one every couple of years. Yeah. But some of them last longer than others for Apple. How long have you ladies had your Apple Watches? 5 years? 5, 6 years? Yeah, so they can last a good while if you take care of them. Okay. Yep. I think I did too. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, the technology probably is better,
Yeah. So we're going to go through things to consider when you're going to buy one or if you're going to ever buy a new one. So compatibility first and foremost. You're probably going to need a more updated smartphone. If your phone looks like one of these, you're probably not going to be able to have a smartwatch. So compatibility is a big thing. Make sure you check wherever you're buying it. You ask the person, is this going to work with my device? And then the features, we talked about those features, so that's a big thing to consider, is how many of those features you want. Usually the more features you have, the lower the battery life. And then we'll talk about that. So battery life is a big thing for me. Usually more features makes more worse battery, but they seem to be getting a little better and better. Apple Watch users usually charge every night, so you're not really able to pick up on your sleep because you have to charge it so much.
Actually, there's a reminder which it will say charge your watch before you go to sleep, and you fully charge it and put it on.
Okay, yep, yeah. You can still do that, but yeah, you have to charge it a lot more than you would a Fitbit, a Garmin, or these other kinds of watches. That this watch I have here, I only have to charge every like 2.5 weeks. That's really nice. This is a Garmin Instinct. And then another thing to consider is style. Like things like the Apple Watches and Fitbit, They have a lot more diverse style, and you could get different bands and things. This Garmin here, I can't really get a whole lot of different things with it. It's pretty much as it is, and it's a lot harder to change the band on this Garmin watch here. So be mindful of that when you're looking for a watch, if that's important to you. So I'm going to go through some of my picks for residents here based on a couple of different things. So this is the best battery life by far. This will last over a year, but it's also the simplest. It really only tracks steps. So if tracking steps is the only thing you're really worried about and you'd like a watch to be able to do that, I think this would be your best bet. It's waterproof, and you bring it in even in the shower. This one's kind of the best bang for your buck. I think, Andy, I think you have this one. That's what it looked like. This is the Fitbit Inspire 2. I had this watch before getting my Garmin watch. The battery life is pretty good here too. It's 10 days, so a lot better than the Apple Watch, but it doesn't do quite as much. You can receive text messages and things like that. You'll be able to see it on your device, but you won't be able to respond, and it's kind of limited as well. But this does have heart rate monitoring and sleep tracking. So if those are features you're looking for and you want a little bit more simpler watch, and this one, the band is not very big either. It's almost more like a bracelet than a watch. And this is my watch here. I got this for Christmas. The reason I got this one, a big thing is the battery life. I hate having to take it off and charge it. I'll charge devices all the time. So having that 2+ week battery life was a big win for me there. And it also has good heart rate monitoring, sleep tracking, and it's Garmin is really the best for GPS and distance tracking. And then this also, you can receive texts, you can answer phone calls, but you're not going to be able to place phone calls or have quite as much as like the Apple Watch or the higher end Android watches. So next, we have the Apple Watch. I have the SE up here, but I would say anything Series 4 or later would be good for you, because Series 4 or later is going to have the fall detection, which is a big thing we're going to talk about here in a minute. So the Apple Watch is really an extension of your phone. It can pretty much do most of the things your phone can, just right on your wrist. It takes verbal commands too. I get to listen to Lauren giving her watch verbal commands all the time. But it is lower end on the battery life compared to other watches, which is a trade-off there. So the more features you kind of trade off, you get a lower battery life. And it also does that ECG that we talked about too. And it could give you irregular heart rate notifications even without doing that ECG, which is pretty cool. And then this is for Android users. So going back to the Apple Watch. So for the Apple Watch, you must have an iPhone in order to use it. So if you have an Android phone, this one's not going to work. So the alternative, a good one I found, will be the Google Pixel Watch. It does pretty much everything that the Apple Watch can do. It's got a pretty nice design too. It looks like a pretty classic watch. The battery life is a little bit better too on this one than the Apple Watch. This one, they say about 40 hours. And this one's, it's also extension of phone. It's got that fall detection, crash detection, ECG, and good battery life for all the features on here. So next we're going to watch a little video on how to set up your fall detection on your watch. Do you cut the light there, Stacy?
The Apple Watch can be a lifesaver for seniors. We all know as we age, our walking steadiness can wreak havoc on our lives. The built-in fall detection feature on the Apple Watch is powerful. It can detect a significant hard fall, and this video will walk you through how it works and how to make sure that you have it set up correctly. When a hard fall is detected, the watch will tap you on the wrist, sound an alarm, and display an alert. You can decide to contact emergency services from the watch or dismiss the warnings if you're able. Well, what if you're knocked out cold? The Apple Watch is smart enough to know if you're moving, so it will wait for you to respond to the alert. If you're not moving, the watch will contact emergency services automatically if you don't answer within 60 seconds. Those people on your emergency contact list will also receive a notification and your current location. Let's make sure you have everything set up and ready to go. The Apple Watch models with fall detection include the Apple Watch Series 4, 5, 6, and 7, along with the Apple Watch SE. If you're under age 55, fall detection is turned off by default. However, fall detection will be turned on if you've entered your age when setting up the device and are over the age of 55. Here's how to check your settings. You'll open up the Watch app on your iPhone. Make sure that My Watch is highlighted. Tap on Emergency SOS. Make sure the toggle switch next to fall detection is turned on and that there's a check mark by Always On. When you take a hard fall and receive an alert on your watch, a slider will be visible to call emergency services, alongside a button for I fell, but I'm okay. Move the slider left to right to initiate a call or tap I'm okay. Follow the instructions from the Emergency Response Center. Press on the screen firmly to end the call. Tap Yes to confirm. To add an emergency contact to your contacts list, you'll need to come in to the Health app, tap on your profile in the upper right corner, select Medical ID, tap on Edit, then scroll down until you see Emergency Contact, tap on Emergency Contact, search for the individual that you'd like to add. Once you locate that individual, it'll ask you for the relationship. You'll tap on that, and their number will be added to your emergency contact list, and they will receive a notification if emergency services is called because you've had a significant fall. There's one more setting that needs to be turned on to make fall detection work correctly. You must have wrist detection on to call emergency services. So locate the Apple Watch app, tap on that, and then select passcode. Once you've selected passcode, scroll down and make sure that wrist detection has been turned on. And finally, if you've taken a hard fall in the past, you can check your fall history on the iPhone. You'll open up the Health app. Make sure that Browse is selected in the bottom right corner, and then you'll scroll up until you see Other Data, select that, and you'll see number of times fallen, select that, and then you'll see that particular data. Hopefully, you never need to access emergency services because you've fallen, but now you know exactly what you need to do to use fall detection. If your parents, grandparents, or elder siblings have an Apple Watch, make sure they turn this feature on. It can be life-saving. When you have some time, check out the articles in the description to see how fall detection has helped others. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
So pretty cool, right? Who knew that this was a feature on the Apple Watch? Wow, a couple of you. I did not until I was preparing for this talk. Yeah.
For us, what emergency services would our phone be contacting?
Just whatever local 911 it would be contacting. Yep. Yep.
It would be really nice if it could be connected to whatever system attendants.
Yeah, that as of right now is not a possibility, just because the two systems are different things. So she said it'd be nice if the pendant and the watch could be coordinated. Yep. So that would be nice, but it's a good option for like, because if you can't press your pendant, if you're knocked out cold, like she said in the video, it's a great option because your watch will be able to call when you wouldn't have been able to press your pendant. Yep.
Do you think we could list Friendship Village emergency services as our emergency contact? Would work that way?
Yeah. I think, yeah, as long as you set up like she did with her, your emergency contact list, you could put that number in there as well. Yeah, so that's a good option.
So what is that number?
I do not know. Yep.
I think this is at least 4 years old or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
One day I was talking to my, I don't know if it was my son or daughter, and I said, I was talking on the phone, and I said, okay, good night, I love you. And my watch said back, aw, wasn't that cute? So, I mean, you know, is your watch listening to everything you say?
Well, it has the Siri capability. So sometimes when you say something, it thinks you're saying Siri when you're not actually saying Siri. So then it'll pick up on whatever conversation you're talking about next, and then it has automatically programmed in responses to things like that.
After watching that, I got this
Mm-hmm.
to be my caretaker.
Yeah.
When I told my kids, no, I don't need to move anywhere from my condo. I'm gonna get an Apple Watch. That'll take care of me if I fall.
Okay.
And so I don't know if I have it set.
Okay. Well, I will send you this video, and anyone who has an Apple Watch and is interested in that video, I could send it to you so you could follow along with her to do that setup because she does a really nice setup there. Yeah, Dot.
They could put our security telephone number in as the emergency contact.
Yeah. I think you could put the security telephone number in on your emergency contact list, so they would get notified as well as. Right. Yep. So that's a good idea. Good idea.
So the health features like your blood pressure
Mm-hmm.
and heart rate and all that stuff, do you have to buy a special app for that?
So she asked, for all these features, do you need to buy a special app for that? And no, they come with the app. So whatever device you have, whatever smartwatch you have, like if you have an Apple Watch, it comes with its own app. Fitbit has its own app, and Garmin has their own app. So it's all linked to whatever company you got, but you don't have to do any other purchasing for those features outside of buying the watch.
But you do have to download the app for that watch.
Yep. But you do have to download the app, that specific app, and you'll need to do that to pair and to get the phone working. Yeah.
Did you say from your phone?
Yep.
I think the heart app on the Apple Watch already comes.
Yeah, and the heart app on the on iPhones is already programmed in even before you have a watch. The watch will connect in with that app. But the other ones you will have to download, like a Fitbit or a Garmin app. And they're both the Fitbit and Garmin app are really user friendly, and I've used both and I like them both a lot. So it's a pretty cool fall feature, but does it actually work, and will it work when it's not supposed to? Let's look at this little video here. You got the light, Stacy?
Don't worry, I'm good. This is just my professional stunt double, Evelyn Osario Vaquero. Evelyn, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I hit the ground for a living.
That's right. Really, she's a professional stunt double. She's appeared in things like Luke Cage, Orange is the New Black, and more. So why is she in this Apple Watch Series 4 review? Well, because the new Apple Watch doesn't only look sleeker, it has new health and fitness features, including one that detects falls. So here's the premise of this review. Evelyn and I were training for a fight. Okay, well, more Evelyn's training. And we're putting the new watch's fall detection and fitness features through the paces. Turns out, fake falling is really hard. Seriously, please don't try this at home.
So get close to the ground, bend those knees, close to the ground, lift those arms, use your body. There you go.
Yes, turns out that the Apple Watch really does know when you're just playing around. Nothing. That's because the improved gyroscope and accelerometer in the Series 4 monitor for wrist trajectory, speed, and more. Apple even showed this weird diagram during its keynote of the 3 different types of falls the watch can detect. And so here we are. I had Evelyn do a series of falls that followed some of the examples that Apple showed. The first fall we tried was during a fight with her training partner and competitive boxer, Michelle Herzl. Evelyn flung herself away and landed on her back. Okay, moment of truth. Fall detected. It looks like you've taken a hard fall. Do we want to contact emergency services? I fell, but I'm okay. What about a slip? Yep, fall detected. What about a trip? Fall detected. What about a trip into a tumble? Weird. No fall detected. If you remain immobile for about a minute after your fall, it begins a 15-second countdown and sounds an alarm. When the countdown ends, it automatically contacts emergency services and sends a message to your emergency contact. If you've entered your age during setup and you're 65 and over, fall detection is automatically on. Everyone else has to turn it on manually in the iPhone Watch app. Okay, time out. I realize these falls are fun to watch, even funny. But in real life, falling is no laughing matter. And from these tests, if you're prone to falling, the Apple Watch would be a good investment.
So I tried to get Lauren to come up here and demonstrate that for us, but she wouldn't do it, so I played the video instead. But it's a really cool feature, and I would definitely recommend it for this age group. The trade-off there would be you'd have to learn how to use the Apple Watch, which could take some time, but it's not impossible. It could also do crash detection too. So if you're in a car crash, it can work kind of in the same way. So there's other types of wearables out there. There's rings you could get. There's ones that are just wrist straps, and stuff for your shoes too. And they all work in kind of the same way as your smartwatch would. And you could also use your phone as a wearable. So let's talk a little bit about that. So if you have a smartphone, we're going to check out how you can use that as a wearable device if you do not want to use a smartwatch. A couple drawbacks to this is you have to have it on you in your pocket. I know a lot of people will keep it in their purse or in their walker or not on their person. So it has to be on you for it to detect your steps. And another drawback is it can really only track your steps. It can't track your heart rate or do the ECG or any of those other things. But if you're just looking to track steps, that could be a good option for you. So if you have your iPhone, we talked about that health app. So you would just go into your health app and it's already tracking your steps, even if you don't know it. But again, it has to be on you for it to be tracking that. So if you have a iPhone and you go over to that health app there, it looks like this, and it should already be set up on your iPhone. You don't have to do any extra things. You have it there, Dot?
It shows time in bed, my weight, tells me I took my pills.
Yeah, those are things it could do, but a lot of those you have to physically input into it, which is pretty cool too. Yeah. So she was saying You could enter your weight into that app. You could alerts for time for pills, and other things like that. So it's pretty cool little app without even having to buy another smartwatch.
My walking speed, my step length.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Walking speed and step length there. Yep. And then if you have an Android phone, I don't think this automatically comes with your Android phone. They might on the newer ones now, but if you have an Android phone, you would download the Google Fit app, and it would work exactly just like the Health app does on the iPhone. So, any questions? Yes, Bob? Well, they can be more accurate than your phone, just because it's always on you at all times. And my watch like this, the Garmin app, because of the GPS tracking is good. This one has the best as far as tracking distance if you were to do a walking workout outside. But as far as the difference, do you have just a phone there, or do you have a watch? Yeah. Oh, okay. So you use a pedometer with your Apple Watch? Okay. Okay. And I would say the Apple Watch would probably be a little bit more accurate in that, because it can actually track your stride length. Because the pedometer, you probably have to set your stride length, or it does an average stride length, which is not always going to be how you're actually striding. So it's going to be a little different. Yes, Lauren? Yeah. You can enter more than one emergency contact for the fall detection and crash detection service on Apple Watch, and the same thing for the Google Pixel Watch. It works in the same way. Mm-hmm. So you want a Series 4 or later, but if you go into the Apple Store, I do not think they sell anything below a Series 4. They might not even sell Series 4 anymore. So they're up to Series 8 right now. But they also have the SE, which would be a good option, I think, for you folks. It's a little bit cheaper. It doesn't do quite as much, but the things it doesn't do, I'm trying to remember what it doesn't do compared to the Series 8, but it wasn't as significant as I thought it would be, and it still has the fall detection and crash detection, so the Apple Watch SE would be a good thing. SE, Apple Watch SE. That is about, let me see, I think I have it back here. Yeah, it'll kind of depend. Sometimes it ranges on sale and things, but I was looking online. I found it at Best Buy and Target for $279.99. Yeah, Bill? Pretty much every single watch you're going to buy that's newer now is going to have water resistant capability. So pretty much any watch you're going to buy now is going to be water resistant, and you could wear in the swimming pool and things like that. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I am interested in blood pressure.
Okay.
And not all watches have BP.
Right. Yeah, most do not.
And to be honest with you, a lot of Apple do not have.
Yeah, for blood pressure, there's very specialized watches for that.
I don't want a specialized watch. I want a smartwatch. I want to be able to make a phone call and get text and all
Yeah.
that. But I also want BP.
Right.
I really don't need all the fitness tracking.
Yeah. And I think that's something that Apple and other companies are aware of, because they're looking more into that technology. But it isn't there yet. But yeah, because right now there's just more specialized watches for that blood pressure, and they're going to be a lot bulkier. And because it's on the wrist with blood pressure, it's never as accurate on the wrist as it is in the upper arm.
Do you know anything about a company called KOSPET? K-O-S-P-E-T.
No.
I've been researching for the last couple of nights.
Okay.
At 1 o'clock in the morning, that's one of my.
Okay, cool. Yep.
I just wanted to mention that if you go to the Apple Watch website, they have a feature to compare models, so you could look at all of the features of the different models and choose what you want.
Yeah, so she was talking about the Apple Watch website. If you go to that website, you could see like a side-by-side of all the models and what they offer and how they compare. I'm sure they have similar things to that if you actually go into the Apple store. I think they have handouts or something there to show you.
Don't confuse ECG, though, with blood pressure.
Correct, yeah. ECG is not blood pressure. Those are two different things. Yeah, as of right now, most smartwatches aren't blood pressure, but they're getting pretty smart. They can track falls and all these different things now. So we'll probably get there. And then as far as where to buy these things, the Apple Store is a good place to go if you have an iPhone and you want an Apple Watch. But if you're not going, if you don't want an Apple Watch, or if you don't have a Apple product, you don't have an iPhone, Best Buy is going to be a really good option for you because the technicians there are a little more knowledgeable than they would be at like a Walmart or a Target. So I'd recommend going to Best Buy if you're going to get one of those. I got my Garmin watch here from Best Buy. Any other questions?
How do you find out what model you have?
You should be able to check your settings in your phone. So you'd have to use your phone, go into your settings there, go to your devices, check your watch. I'm 90% sure that it would tell you that there. Very top of the settings.
It should say settings, and right below it should have whatever you need with your phone, and then you click on that and it has all of the information.
So settings, click on your phone. What?
The settings button.
Settings button, click on your phone. And it'll tell you what series you have. And for that fall and crash detection, it's going to be Series 4 or later for the Apple Watch, and the new SE, which came out last year. Yeah, the 5. Yep, cool. So yours would have the fall detection, crash detection feature. Yes, sir.
The watch is such a small thing that has so many things in there.
Yeah.
I've got a daughter who sits here and she'll go click, click. I don't hear the click, but she'll boom, 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 and she can give me the weather. Boom, boom.
Yep.
Are most of those watches set up like that one with like 2 buttons, or do some of them have 4 and 5 buttons, and you got to know the code of the buttons in order to make the damn thing work?
Yeah, so it depends on the watch. So Apple Watch, it has those 2 buttons there, but it mostly operates from a touch screen. So it's on the actual watch face itself is where you do most of the touching. Yeah, so that's an option. Or if you like more of the old school feel of watches, mine would be a good option. It has the buttons on the side, and it's not too hard to figure out how the buttons work. But if you're more of a button person and don't like the touchscreen can be hard sometimes to operate, depending on finger size and things like that.
I like also Find My Phone or Find My Watch.
Yeah. Lou was saying it has a Find My Phone or Find My Watch feature on your devices. So if your phone's missing but you have your watch on, you can go to the button, click the button, and it'll, and your phone will ring, help you find it. That's another good feature. Oh, yeah. So it could actually do GPS tracking where your phone actually is. So that's a good feature. That's something that could be helpful for everybody.
Are there any watches that are easier to figure out how to use than others?
Yes, so like more of the simpler watches, like these two, are fairly easy to use. This one here does have a touch screen, but it's like a slide. There's not a whole lot of buttons, not a whole lot going on. So these two are a little bit easier. This one, it just has the center button here, and that will literally just cycle through time, date, and your steps. So this one's real simple. This one's really if you only want it for tracking steps.
Another very handy thing is my children know exactly where I am because they have
Yeah.
location sharing.
Yeah.
I have theirs, I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to their house. They say, oh, Mom, you'll be here in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is very, makes me feel good.
Yeah. So Lou was talking about the location sharing. She shares her location with her family, so they can always go into the phone and check and know where she's at. Any other questions? And I'll be available for a little bit here if you have more specific questions, or if you have a watch and you want me to help you with something, I'll be available for a little bit longer after here if you want to come and talk to me after. But any more questions for the group here? Thank you. Thank you.